Call off your dogs, lady, or put you down first. Those were the last words Venom Jackson spat before realizing that threatening a former military working dog handler was the biggest mistake of his criminal career. On a sweltering Arizona morning, Victoria Parker's 18-wheeler, loaded with life-saving medical supplies for dying children, became the target of the Southwest's most feared motorcycle gang, the Sand Scorpions. But as the notorious outlaws surrounded her truck, they failed to understand one crucial detail: the two German shepherds in her cab, Max and Duke, weren't pets, but decorated combat veterans with over 200 successful military missions under their collars. The story unfolds across 72 brutal hours in 3 states, as one woman and her loyal K9 partners transformed from prey to hunters. Using battlefield tactics perfected in the world's deadliest war zones, Victoria and her dogs would not only protect their precious cargo but systematically dismantle the largest weapons trafficking ring in Arizona's history. In trucking circles, they still talk about the day the Sand Scorpions learned that some highways are guarded not just by law enforcement, but by warriors who never lost their edge and K9s who never forgot their training. Duct taped to Victoria's dashboard, the clock read 4:37 a.m. when she pulled out of the Phoenix depot. Max's head rested on her thigh, while Duke kept a vigilant eye on the road ahead. The trailer behind them carried supplies bound for Houston Children's Hospital, and children's lives depended on their timely delivery. Victoria scratched behind Max's ears, ready for another long haul. Boy. His tail thumped gently against the seat, but his eyes never left the horizon. Some habits from deployment never faded. The CB radio crackled. Heads up eastbound on I-40, Sand Scorpion sighting at Broken Arrow truck stop, shaking down drivers. Again, Victoria's jaw tightened. Everyone in the region had heard of the Sand Scorpions. What started as a small-time gang had morphed into a violent syndicate. Her fuel gauge hovered at half. She'd need to stop soon, but not there. Thanks for the heads up, she responded into the CB. Any word on alternate stops? Up. Female voice with a slight Hispanic accent cut in. This is Alina westbound. Desert View Station at mile marker 147 is clear. Passed through 20 minutes ago. Victoria replied, appreciate it, Alina, stay safe. She checked her mirrors, instincts alert. The rising sun painted the desert in hues of gold and purple when Duke's ears suddenly perked up. Victoria immediately scanned the road ahead. A group of motorcycles had merged from a side road, riders wearing the leather vests of the Sand Scorpions. Easy boys, she murmured. Max and Duke had shifted into alert mode, reading her tension like a book. She kept her speed steady, not speeding up or slowing down. The bikers, 5 of them, were fanned out across both lanes a quarter-mile ahead. The CB crackled again. Vic, it's Alina. More Scorpions heading east from Flagstaff. They're boxing in trucks. Be careful. Tactical thinking clicked in. Victoria's thoughts moved as fast as her heart rate. The dogs sensed it. Copy that, Alina. I've got 5 in sight. Her voice stayed level, even as her hands tensed around the wheel. Anyone got eyes on state troopers in the area? Static. The bikers ahead slowed slightly, forcing her to do the same. Through the mirrors, more motorcycles approached from behind. Sunlight glinted off chrome and leather. Victoria reached for a duffel behind her seat, not a toiletries bag, but one filled with equipment from her military days, a satellite phone, medkits, and specialized gear for Max and Duke. Their training had never stopped, and today, that decision might save lives. Looking like a quiet morning for law enforcement, Alina said, her voice tinged with worry. You got your partners with you? Affirm, Victoria said with a small smile. Max and Duke had saved her life more than once in Afghanistan. She trusted them more than most people. The lead bikers widened their spread, deliberately blocking both lanes. She remembered a convoy mission in Kandahar. Different country, same setup. Her engine rumbled steadily, defying the pressure. The trailer behind her didn't carry ordinary cargo, it carried hope, and she'd made an oath long ago to protect it, even if she had to fight to the end. Alina, if you're still there, I might need you to make some calls. This is about to turn. I'm 10 miles back. Turning around now. Hold tight. One biker ahead raised his arm, signaling her to pull over. 7 more had joined from behind. She recognized the patch on one of them, Venom Jackson, the gang's leader. Max and Duke sat still as statues, but tension radiated off their bodies. Hundreds of missions together had turned them into a synchronized unit. The sun cast long shadows as Victoria readied herself. This gang didn't realize what they were dealing with. All right, boys, she whispered. Time to earn our keep. She reached again into the duffel, retrieving tactical vests. Her rig rolled forward steadily as the bikers closed in. Venom coordinated their movements with precision. Elena's voice returned. You've got incoming on your left. For more bikes. Copy, Victoria said, patting Duke's head. State troopers. 20 minutes out. Sheriff might be closer. Another arm raised from the lead biker, this time more insistent. Victoria recognized him. Razor Mitchell, Jackson's second in command. Her mind clicked back to Kandahar. If surrounded, create your own exit. Time to earn your breakfast, boys. She pressed a button on the dogs' vests. They shifted position. No longer passengers, they were now weapons. One biker came up alongside, shouting over the wind, "Pull over." Victoria stared forward, silent. In the mirror, Venom Jackson's bike moved closer. Her CB crackled. "This is Sergeant Nash. Arizona Highway Patrol. Reports of biker harassment on I-40. Any trucks respond." "This is Victoria Parker, eastbound at 152, medical cargo bound for Houston, surrounded by 15 bikers." "Copy that, Miss Parker. Stay on course." Units responding. A loud bang hit at her door. One biker had slammed something into it. Max growled. Another biker shouted, "Last chance, lady, pull over or we'll make you." Instead, she flicked her running lights twice, a signal. Max and Duke moved to visible positions. Their tactical vests and alert posture caused one rider to swerve. In surprise, "You see that, Venom?" Razor yelled. "She's got war dogs." Victoria saw Venom's expression darken. He signaled his crew to pull back, creating distance. Her ears picked up the distinctive click of a shotgun. She pressed a hidden switch on her dash. Compartments popped open, no weapons, but high-intensity flashes and legal-grade smoke dispensers. "Elena, things are about to get sporty," she said. "Warn that sergeant." The first shotgun blast peppered her trailer harmlessly. The second hit her window. Ballistic glass held. Max Duke status 1. The dogs barked aggressively, forcing bikers to back off. In her windshield, Razor pulled out a chain-linked ball bearing. "A window breaker." "All right, boys," Victoria said. "Let's show them why you don't mess with war dogs." She flipped 2 more switches. Thick white smoke flooded the highway. Behind flashes disoriented the gang. Through the chaos, Victoria saw Venom's furious expression. His shouting was drowned by engines and noise. Then, she saw what she needed: dread and blue lights. Distant but approaching. The Scorpions noticed and began to fall back. Jackson pulled up beside her one last time. "This ain't over. We know what you're carrying." Victoria's blood chilled. This wasn't random. They knew about the medical supplies. As the gang disappeared down desert trails, she radioed in, "Sergeant Nash, they confirmed knowledge of my cargo. This wasn't random." "Copied that. Pull over at next safe point. We need to talk." Max and Duke relaxed slightly, but the alertness remained. This run was no longer a delivery, it was a war. She looked at her boys. "Something tells me that was just a warm-up." Pulling into Walker's truck stop, Victoria saw Sergeant Nash waiting. He eyed her trailer's reinforced panels. "Military dogs?" he asked. "They don't forget their training," she replied. 3 supply trucks hit this month. "All medical, all targeted," he said. "But this is the first daylight hit. They knew what I had." "How?" Nash showed her surveillance shots. "They're stealing specific items. Evidence-based meds, precursors, black market value." Elena's rig pulled in. "Sorry I'm late, had to shake a tail." "You're okay, Vic. Thanks to your heads up, bud. It's bigger than we thought." "Walker's letting us use this place as a fallback," Elena added. "He's ex-military. So is his wife, Carol." Victoria recalled setting up fallbacks in Kandahar. "We need misdirection. Decoy routes. Old school." "This isn't a war zone," Nash said. "Tell that to the Scorpions." She unrolled a paper map. "Elena, you said they strike near these turnoffs." "Yeah, hideouts in the desert, classic insurgent tactics." Don Walker approached. "Place is secure. Nice truck mods. By the way, you didn't think I'd need them stateside," she replied. "World's changing. Venom's backed by someone with resources," Don said. "Hit 3 of my regulars." Nash laid out more photos. "They've got someone feeding them police movement intel, possibly inside our department. That's how they knew about my cargo. But they weren't ready for resistance." "Victoria," said. Elena laughed. "They didn't expect a vet with war dogs and a smokescreen." "They'll be back," Victoria warned. "And smarter next time." "We changed the equation," Nash asked. "What are you thinking?" "Alternative routes, harder terrain, old mining roads." "We can't provide escort," Nash admitted. "Not without hard evidence. Then we outsmart them." She looked at Max and Duke. "Their instincts are better than radar." "I can scout." Elena offered. "No, too risky, but you can help," Victoria replied. Together, they mapped a new plan. Nash shook his head. "This is either brilliant or insane." "Sometimes insane works," she said. "We've got 36 hours to get those supplies through." Don returned with satellite photos. "Recent terrain scans. You'll need these." They planned in the heat. The Arizona sun pounding down. "One more thing," Nash said. "New player working with them, Calcine Crimson. Ex-military." Victoria absorbed the intel. "Then we better be ready." Dusk fell as Victoria's rig rolled down the rough mining road. Max growled, catching something. "Movement at your 2 o'clock, Don said from the truck stop's rooftop. They took the bait. Elena's decoy truck was visible in the distance, under heavy escort. "They're not chasing her," Victoria muttered, "because they know it's bait." "Single rider incoming," Carol said. "Custom bike, military grade." Crimson. Victoria breathed. Max tensed. Don's voice returned. "They're herding you toward Dead Man's Canyon." Victoria remembered another canyon, another ambush. She'd learned from it. "Elena, there, playing us. The trap is here." Her words trailed off as floodlights burst ahead, illuminating vehicles hidden in the rocks, now creating a wall of blinding illumination. Damn, Victoria breathed. This is him. This is Crimson's play. The radio crackled again, but this time it wasn't her team. A new voice, cold and professional, pierced the air. Vehicle carrying shipment Delta 74. You're entering a restricted area. Cut your engines and prepare for cargo inspection. Victoria's hands tightened on the wheel. They even knew her shipment code. The leak went higher than just the local police. Nash, you getting this? She whispered into her secure line. Recording everything, the sergeant confirmed, but his team was still 15 minutes out. You're on your own. Victoria reached down to adjust Max and Duke's tactical vests. Carol Dorneni, chance of a backup route. They've got all approaches covered, Dawn reported grimly. This was well-planned military-grade planning. Victoria allowed herself a small smile. Good thing we've got military-grade surprises. She keyed her radio to respond to Crimson's demand. This is Commercial Transport 74. I'm carrying time-sensitive medical supplies for pediatric patients. I have full authorization to. Crimson's voice interrupted, smooth and unnerving. We know who you are, Handler Parker. Afghanistan 2019. They still tell stories about how you and your dogs saved that convoy. Very impressive. But this isn't a war zone, and you're outnumbered. The lights ahead shifted, revealing more bikes and several heavy trucks. They'd committed serious resources to this trap. Victoria's mind raced through options, each worse than the last. Last chance, Crimson continued. Stop now, surrender the cargo, and everyone goes home. Keep driving. The lights picked out armed figures moving into position. Well, let's just say war dogs can bleed just like any other dog. Victoria's blood ran cold, but her voice stayed steady. You did your homework on my military record. Then you know what happened to the last person who threatened my dogs. A dark chuckle came through the radio. That's what I'm counting on. Your emotional attachment makes you predictable. You'll stop rather than risk them. In fact, I bet they're right there in the cab with you, aren't they? Max and Duke, two of the most decorated military working dogs in recent history. Victoria's training kicked in. He was revealing too much, too confident. This wasn't just about the cargo anymore. You want my dogs, she realized. The medical supplies are just a bonus. Very good, Crimson replied. Do you know what trained military dogs are worth on certain markets, especially ones with their combat record? Now, are we doing this the easy way, or his? Words cut off as Victoria's hand hit a series of switches. The canyon erupted in chaos as her truck's external lighting system, military-grade and far brighter than they'd expected, overwhelmed their carefully planned illumination trap. Max Duke tactical positions. The dogs moved instantly, years of training taking over. Victoria threw her truck into a precise turn that would have been impossible for most drivers. Using the terrain to her advantage, all units move. In Crimson's voice crackled with rage. Don't let her. The rest was lost as Victoria triggered her truck's defense systems. Special smoke dispensers, perfectly legal, but military-grade, filled the canyon with dense clouds. Her infrared lighting kicked in, useless for normal vision, but perfect for dogs trained to work with night vision equipment. Elena Donnell, bravo. Now, Victoria's voice was steel as she executed a maneuver that had saved her life in that last Afghanistan ambush. Sometimes the best way through a trap was to spring it on your own terms. The night erupted in chaos as Victoria Parker reminded everyone why she and her dogs had been one of the most effective teams in military history. Crimson had done his homework, but he'd made one crucial mistake. He'd threatened her dogs. The real fight was about to begin. The canyon filled with confusion as Victoria's truck plowed through the smokescreen. Max and Duke's training kicked in instantly, their barks precisely timed to create the illusion of movement throughout the confined space. In the confusion, bikes scattered, their riders unable to maintain formation. She's making a break for the North Ridge. Someone shouted exactly what Victoria wanted them to think. Negative. Crimson's voice cut through the chaos. She's smarter than that. All units converge on the western exit. Don't let those dogs get into position. Victoria smiled grimly. He really had studied her tactics, but not all of them. Elena, status. Secondary packages in position. Elena's voice came through clearly on their secure channel. They've got no idea they're chasing the wrong truck. Through the smoke, Victoria caught glimpses of armed figures trying to maintain a perimeter. Her truck's specialized lighting system, strobing in patterns proven to disorient without causing accidents, was creating exactly the confusion she needed. End of the line. Parker. Crimson's voice carried a new edge of frustration. You're only delaying the inevitable. We've got both exits covered. Both exits, Victoria muttered. Dawn. Carol, what's he missing? Old mining tunnel. Dawn's voice crackled back. Quarter-mile ahead on your 3 o'clock. They haven't spotted it yet. Surface looks unstable, but the reinforcements held last time I checked. Victoria's mind flashed back to a similar situation in Kandahar. Sometimes the most dangerous-looking route was the safest option. Nash, we're about to give you probable cause, a lot of it. Just keep them busy for 3 more minutes. We've ID'd Crimson, Nash responded. Form a special Forces discharged under investigation. Real name, tell me later. Victoria cut him off as she spun her wheel hard. The truck responded perfectly. Decades of experience making the impossible look easy. Max and Duke braced themselves, understanding the maneuver from countless similar situations. Then a bike roared through the smoke, its rider raising what looked like a military-grade signal jammer. Victoria had been waiting for this. Max, Duke, Pat, and Sierra. The dogs responded instantly. Their barks changed more aggressive, more threatening. In the confined canyon space, the echoes made it impossible to pinpoint their location. More importantly, it covered the sound of Victoria's next move. The mining tunnel entrance looked like certain death had collapsed. Barely wide enough for her truck, but Victoria had learned long ago to trust Dawn's intel. The reinforcements held as her truck smashed through the cosmetic debris covering the entrance. All units, do not let her. Crimson's order cut off in a stream of curses as he realized what was happening. The sound of bikes revving filled the canyon as they scrambled to reposition. Alina, execute plan, Bravo. Victoria commanded. In her mirrors, she saw the chaos escalate as Alina's truck loaded with tracking devices and decoy cargo burst through the smoke. Heading north, half the bikes peeled off to pursue what they thought was the real target. Dawn, Carol status on the tunnel. Victoria's truck plowed forward into the darkness, her specialized lighting system switching to low-intensity mode. Stable for another 100 yards, Carol reported. Then you'll hit the junction. Right fork is collapsed for real. Left fork opens into Dixon's quarry. Victoria's hands were steady on the wheel, decades of training taking over. This was no different from those night missions in Afghanistan, except for all the ways it was worse. Nash, you still recording? Got everything, the sergeant confirmed, including Crimson's little speech about selling military dogs. That's a federal offense right there. We're moving in now. The tunnel groaned ominously as Victoria's truck cleared the junction. Behind her, bikes appeared in the darkness, their riders realizing too late that the right fork was a death trap. Handler Parker. Crimson's voice held real anger now. Those dogs are worth more than your life. Don't be stupid. Victoria keyed her radio one last time. Hey Crimson, you really should have done better research. Max and Duke weren't just any military working dogs, they were specifically trained for tunnel warfare. The dogs' barks echoed through the confined space, creating a disorienting wall of sound. Victoria hit her brakes hard, executing a move that would have been suicidal without her truck's special modifications. The bikes behind her couldn't react in time. All units pull back. Crimson's order came too late. The tunnel erupted in confusion as bikes collided, their riders unable to navigate in the chaos of sound and strobing lights. Victoria's truck burst out of the tunnel into Dixon's quarry. Behind her, the sound of sirens filled the air as Nash's task force finally moved in. They'd get some of the gang members. But she knew Crimson would escape this round. Alina's status on the decoy led them right into the roadblock. Alina reported gleefully. You should see their faces, realizing they chased the wrong truck. Victoria allowed herself a small smile as she checked her cargo monitors. The medical supplies were secure. She'd bought enough time for Nash to gather serious evidence. More importantly, she'd learned something crucial. Wasn't just after the cargo, he wanted her dogs, which meant this wasn't over. Don Carroll, we're going to need a new route to Houston. Victoria reached down to scratch behind Max's ears. Both dogs had performed perfectly just like always. And I need everything you can find on Crimson's military record. Already on it, Dawn replied. But Vic, there's something else you should know. The way he knew your tactics, your history. This goes deeper than we thought. Victoria nodded grimly. She'd suspected as much. Someone had been watching her, studying her patterns, maybe for months, which meant the real fight was just beginning. Nash, you get all that? Loud and clear, the sergeant responded. We've got 6 in custody, seized 3 trucks of contraband, and enough evidence to start rolling up their network. But Crimson and Venom both slipped away. Let them run, Victoria said softly, her voice carrying the weight of experience. They'll be back, and next time we'll be ready. The quarry fell silent, except for the distant sound of sirens. Victoria Parker, former military working dog handler, looked at her loyal partners and allowed herself a moment of pride. They'd survived worse odds in Afghanistan. Whatever came next, they'd face it together. But first, she had medical supplies to deliver. Children were waiting, and Victoria Parker never failed a mission. Dawn broke over Dawn's garage as Victoria inspected her truck's reinforced panels. The tunnel escape had left its marks, but the vital systems remained intact. Max and Duke patrolled the perimeter, their training evident in every precise movement. 3 cracked panels, bent bumper, and your right fog lights shot, Dawn announced, sliding out from under the truck. But the important stuff held. Military grade doesn't come cheap, but it pays off. Victoria nodded, running her hand along a deep scratch in the driver's side door. How long to get her roadworthy? 2 hours tops. Carol's got breakfast ready, and Nash is on his way with new intel. The radio on Dawn's workbench crackled. This is Alina, you're going to want to hear this. Vic, Found something weird in those shipping manifests. Victoria wiped grease from her hand, patched into the secure channel, wait for Nash inside the truck stop's office. Carol had transformed their break room into a tactical operations center. Maps covered one wall, shipping routes marked in different colors. A police scanner hummed quietly in the corner. They hit 3 other trucks last month, Carol said, pointing to red X's on the map, all carrying similar cargo. But here's the thing, they knew exactly when and where to hit each one. Inside information, Victoria muttered. Her mind flashed back to her last deployment when they discovered a leak in their own unit. Good people had died before they'd plugged that leak. The door opened, admitting Nash and Alina. The sergeant looked like he hadn't slept, but his eyes were alert. Got Crimson's file. You're not going to like it. How bad? Thomas Reeves, Nash said, dropping a folder on the table. Former Special Forces. Specialized in K9 operations. Discharged 3 years ago.